I'm 52 with $250,000 saved for retirement. When can I retire? That's what we're going to look at today on the Your Financial EKG YouTube channel. I've got Al. He's a single individual in the District of Columbia. He's saved $250,000 for retirement. He's asking the question, hey, I'm 52. I've got $250,000 saved in retirement investing accounts. When can I retire? And that is on everyone's mind. And the reason is because most individuals have not saved enough for retirement. If you look, this is the Vanguard study of the average and median amount saved for retirement. And if you look, from ages 35 to 44, the average saved for retirement is $97,000. The median is $36,000. From 45 to 54, which we're looking at today, the average is $179,000. The median is $61,000. Now, Al's got $250,000 saved for retirement, so he's above the average. But we've got to get him moving forward so that he can retire at a time when he can enjoy himself, not work until his bones are crushed, as he says. Now, the average between 55 and 64, $256,000 saved for retirement, and the median is $89,000. So we've got to do a better job of saving, and that's what we're going to look at today for Al. So let's look at this. We've got Al here. He works for the U.S. government. His monthly income is $5,416. Right about $65,000 a year is what he makes from the U.S. government. Now, because he works for the U.S. government, we're going to have Social Security and we're going to have a pension. Now, a pension is a benefit to him because he does have less saved at this point than we would want for somebody wanting to retire, say, at 60. So he's got Social Security and a pension, and now we've got to work towards growing those retirement investing accounts so that he can retire and enjoy retirement. So Al's going to take Social Security at 67. That would be a gross monthly benefit of $2,340. Now, we're going to look at a strategy taking Social Security earlier. So hang on to this because we're going to look at taking Social Security at 62 to see what makes the most sense for Al. Now, Al has a pension that he'll take at 62, and that pension is $2,500 per month. So we do have the pension there of $2,500 a month. It's got a 3% COLA increase, meaning that's going to go up 3% every year no matter what. So we've got two forms of guaranteed income. And so it's really important that we pick the most optimal time for Al to retire and the optimal strategy for claiming Social Security, whether that's at 62, 67, 70, or somewhere in between. And we want it to work in conjunction with his other forms of retirement income because he's single, so his retirement income is on me, myself, and I. So making the appropriate decision could be life-altering. So we want to make sure we do it right. Now, if we look at assets, Al's got about $50,000 in an emergency fund in the bank, and he's got about $200,000. We rounded down just a little bit. It was a little over $200,000 and change in his TSP. Now, he's doing a monthly contribution of $1,083. That's his contribution plus the match. And he does have a home that's got $300,000 in it in equity. Okay, so we have a $300,000 home with equity. So that's another investment vehicle that we can use for retirement should we need it. Now, if we look at the rate of return, it's a little lower than we like, but we're going to do a 6% rate of return for his investments moving forward. So within a TSP, you have different mutual funds you can choose from, the C fund, the I fund, you have the life cycle funds. So we want to try to be as aggressive as possible for Al. The reason for it is this. Al understands that he has to work another 8 to 10 years. So 62 is the maximum amount he wants to work. 60 is when he really would love to slow down. because he's got some health issues, he's got some family that's older, and he wants to spend time with them. So 8 to 10 years is when we want to retire, so we need to look at the strategy to make sure that 8 to 10 years makes the most sense. Now, any cash flows or RMDs are also going to get a 6% rate of return if they're reinvested back into the portfolio. So that means we've got $250,000 in retirement assets. We're earning a portfolio weighted average of 4.8%. Now we're asking the question, when can we retire? If we look at expenses, his current monthly expenses are $3,000 a month, and we're going to give it an inflation rate of 3.24% on that. If you look at the inflation history, so we've been calculating this as a country since 1914. So from 1914 to 2021, the 108-year average for inflation is 3.24%. Now, I realize it's going to be higher for 2022, and it's going to be higher for 2023. So we're going to go through these ebbs and flows throughout your retirement where inflation is going to be higher in some instances, and it's going to be lower in other instances. Listen, if you're retired for 30 years or longer, odds are you're going to experience 5 recessions. And out of those 5 recessions, you're going to experience at least one market crash, meaning 40 to 50% decline in your retirement investments. So we've got to plan for that, how we're invested during retirement. Where's our retirement income going to come from? Again, it goes back to the most optimal time to claim Social Security, to take any pensions, and also how we are invested and when we're going to pull that chain on, yes, it's time to retire. So that's inflation. So let's go to cash flows. This is where in the EKG, so in the financial EKG, which for me, that's a retirement plan that we do for clients. So in the cash flows section, this is where we're adding any kind of travel. Maybe he wants to buy a new car, a fishing boat, something like that. We want to add that in so that we can have that in our planning. Also, as Al goes through his life and through his retirement, we're going to review this plan at least on a yearly basis. And so as we review the plan, he may call and say, hey, Drew, I met someone, I'm getting married, and we need to add her assets into the plan. And so in that case, we would have to update this. Or he says, hey, I've decided I want to go to Alaska on a fishing trip once I retire. I've gotten some estimations on the cost. Boom, we need to add that into the plan so that we can see what is that going to do to our projections down the road. Now, let's look at pre-retirement here. So this is how much he's saving. So right now at 52, we've got our gross monthly salary is $5,416. Our monthly contribution to the TSP is $1,083, which means our net monthly income with taxes, contributions, all that taken out is $3,160. Our net monthly expenses at the current moment are $3,000. Now that's going to have a 3.24 inflation rate on that for on a monthly basis. So our net monthly cash flow is about $160 monthly. So our spendable assets are at $252, which means we've grown from $250,000 saved for retirement to $252,000 by the end of 2022. So what you can see is we're looking at a 10-year. We're going to 62 in this scenario. So at 62 or at 61 or at the end of his 61st year, we'd have $515,000 saved for retirement. So now the video becomes not when can I retire? Now it becomes, can I retire at 61 or at 62 with $515,000 saved for retirement? So let's look at that. Can I retire at 62 with $515,000? So if you go to retirement, you can see we're at 62. We've got $515,000 saved for retirement. We've got a $343,000 debt-free house. Okay, so we've got $343,000 in equity. Now, what I do for real estate is I just give it a 1.5% increase over time. Now, it could be higher than that, it could be negative. We're just doing a 1.5% increase over his retirement. Here's the pension kicking on at $2,500 at 62. And again, the pension has a 3% cost of living adjustment. So it's 3% every year it's going to grow. So our net monthly income, $2,169, that's what tax is coming out. Our net monthly expenses are $4,127. Remember, 10 years ago, his expenses were $3,000. That's where we started. Inflation has eaten into those expenses, so now they're $4,127, which means that Al has to take out $1,958 from his retirement investments account for retirement income to live off of, okay? So as we can see, he takes Social Security at 67. There's $2,340. There's a Social Security kicking in. And really, if we go to 100, based on a 6% rate of return at 100, he's got $976,579 in retirement assets. So, can I retire at 62 with $515,000? Yes, you can. I'm 52 with $250,000 saved for retirement. When can I retire? Well, for Al, it makes the most sense at 62. But what about taking Social Security early? Remember, if you take Social Security at 62, you only get 70% of your full retirement benefit. But what about for Al? Why don't we take it? Let's look at what happens if we take Social Security early. Now, here's the number I need you to remember. At 100, Al has $976,000 left over. Let's use a round number, 976. Let's go to claiming Social Security at 62 and see what happens. So we'll go up here to scenarios. Let's go to current scenario. So that's the one we're working on with taking Social Security at 62. So you can see here, Al taking Social Security at 62, we had $1,800 in Social Security benefits. So that's 70% of his full retirement benefit. Pension's still the same. There's the $2,500 starting at 62. Now remember, 976 was taking Social Security at 67. What his assets would be at 100. Let's look at what they would be taking Social Security at 62. So here we are. We got our 515 in retirement assets, 62 years old. Here's our pension of 2,500. Here's our Social Security of 1,800. Remember, we kicked it on early. So our net cash flow is $322, meaning we need $322 from our retirement accounts for retirement income. At 100, look at this. Al actually has $1,264,752. So let's use a round number. Let's say 1,264. Let's subtract out 976. So by him taking Social Security at 62, he actually has $288,000 more at 100. Now I realize you're probably thinking, Drew, why are you planning to 100? I just want you to see this long term. What's this going to look like over a lot of years? And so for him, for Al, it made more sense to take Social Security early than to delay it to 67 or 70. Now, I know that might be heresy among someone reading a Forbes article or reading Barron's magazine, but you cannot take a cookie-cutter approach to your retirement planning. That's why we do an EKG. That's why Al called me and said, Drew, I need an EKG to know when I need to take Social Security. Can I travel when I get into retirement? And will my retirement assets last forever? And so we've answered two of those three so far. We looked at Social Security and we answered, will he run out of retirement assets? Both of those are no and 62. So let's look at travel. So Al wants to travel for 10 years after he retires, 62 to 72, and he wants to spend $5,000 a year traveling. Now he's a modest guy, so we're going to do $5,000 a year. Remember, he's single, so we don't have a lot of couple expenses. Now he might meet someone, and who knows, but we'll adjust that when that time comes. That's why we have an EKG, so we can make adjustments, and that's why we do reviews. If you're not reviewing with your advisor at least once a year, make sure you call me because we need to be reviewing it. So let's add this in here. So Al wants to travel. So let's put in some travel income. And he wants to take it on an annual basis. And he wants to take $5,000 a month. And we do need to have some inflation on this. So that's going to be, let's put 3% inflation. And let's start this when he retires. And let's do it for 10 years. And we're going to take this out of his TSP. And it's going to go to travel. Have have fun. Okay, so save and close. Now let's look at that. Let's see what that does to the retirement income plan. So we go to retirement and look at this. We start taking out the $5,000. There it is for travel. You can see it getting inflation. Okay, here's our pension. Here's Social Security at 100 with the travel. He has $903,000 left in spendable assets. Still has the house, obviously, right? 616, but 903 in spendable assets. Remember, the other plan, taking Social Security at 67, no travel, he was at 976 in assets at 100. So this is still a better plan for him if he wants to travel. So what we're also going to look at for Al is kind of finagling the travel numbers if he wants to go somewhere for more money, maybe he wants to do Europe, something like that. So that's something we get into a more detailed approach when we're going through the Zoom calls. So I hope this has helped in your retirement planning, especially if you're in your late 40s and early 50s and you don't feel like you've saved enough for retirement. Let Al give you some confidence to get you to retirement, through retirement, and protect your ability to stay in retirement. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Bye-bye.